Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. I am making a tiny pot. The wheel that I'm using is this Braun wheel, and you can contact him through Instagram. I have 2 of them. I like to have it covered up because I get pretty messy, so I put it in a box and it's covered up and works that way really well for me. And the controller is kind of underneath here, so it's hard to reach. So I'm using the controller over here for the electrical. All right, let's move up a little closer. I'm going to finish centering this clay. The clay I'm using is standard 365 porcelain, the cone 6 clay. And what I'm making are a series of these little teardrop shaped pots that have a long narrow neck. I'm experimenting using Emico's Dark Star, and you cannot glaze the interior of your pot. If you do, it blisters on the outside, so these little pots are going to be fine. And I single fire them, I don't bisque them. So when this is dry enough, I will trim it by hand with a knife. And then paint the glaze on it, which is pretty painstaking, but I don't know of any other way to do it. These little pots are not easily dippable. Normally I do put a clear glaze on the inside, but not with the Dark Star. All right, so I'm looking for a teardrop shape with a really long, skinny neck. This one I made had a little bit kind of too thin on the shoulder, so it looked like it was going to collapse on me. Magical, isn't it? If you're ever in the Glen Burnie, Maryland area, hit me up, come on in, make a little tiny pot with me. Came into my studio this afternoon and smelled like cat poo. My cat looked at me, he says, "It smells in here." I'm like, "Yeah, it does. Did you do that?" He's like, "Nope." Turned out my pottery water had a lot of clay in it and sat for a couple days in a warm room. And it stinketh. It's the beginning of the right shape. Got to get that bottom finished because I'm not going to be able to get in there again. Slow it down a little bit. Yeah, it's a little noisy, but you know, this little motor's doing really well. If you get one of those little $50 ones off of Amazon, even finger friction slows it down a lot, so you need to use the tools that came with it if you want to get anywhere. Still, it's really difficult to center on an underpowered machine, which was why this is a great machine. He makes a lot of miniature stuff. He does a lot of miniature woodworking, makes a tiny miniature chop saw. Oh my gosh. So if you ever do anything really delicate with clay or anything else and you need to have a steady hand, take a breath in and then breathe out. Slowly as you do the work. And that will help regulate the nerves in your hand to a certain extent. What is going on down there? Okay. I'm going to almost close it up tight. Not quite, but almost. This clay is great for people making these tiny pots. It shrinks about 18%, but I use it fairly softly with people that want to making pots with them. Then, of course, they point to a pot like this, and I'm like, yeah, after you've made about 20 of these little pots, you might be able to do that. But I mean, I do all the centering and the hard stuff for them anyway. But for a lot of people, it's their first chance to ever work with pottery. And for a lot of potters, it's their first chance to work with porcelain, so it works out well. A little bobble in the top there. I guess I shall use my secret weapon and get that trimmed up a little bit. Secret weapon. Too fast. Thank you. I don't worry about water on the inside because I can tip it over once it's finished when I cut it off. Now that's going to be a pretty form, especially if that glaze turns out nicely. I'll have to use another glaze on the bottom. This dark scar runs quite a bit, so I will have to probably put some sort of a matte glaze on the bottom third. And it will be a week or so before I actually am able to show it to you, because I like to fire a full load and we don't have enough little pots in there for that yet. Okay, I think I want a smoother finish. Oh, I kind of like that, so let's trim it up and be done with it. Just taking out the slurry parts. You'd think that that would add to the decoration, but it does not. Stop, leave it alone. All done.